When she finally reached the lounge, her steps fluttered there. Standing confidently in the center of the room was a woman, tall, bold, stunning, dressed in a sleek black dress that hugged every curve. Her red lipstick curved into a front, mocking a smirk. And the second her eyes landed on you froze. The woman's gaze traveled over her slowly, her steps framed her delicate features, the soft innocence that clung to her like a second skin, and intensely you could feel the sharp stench of nostalgia in her eyes. "You must be here," the woman said, her voice smooth but sharp like a blade. She crossed her arms, tilting her head with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The little black Jungkook brought here." Your lips parted, but no words come out. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her fingers clutched the blanket tighter around her self. The woman smirked, "Vidhan, I am his secretary here in Italy. Everything runs through me." Her heels clicked against the marble as she stopped closer, her perfume heavy in the air. "I have been by his side for years, and now here he brings you." Brett shuddered. She took a step back, her eyes hidden, her body trembling. The secretary's eyes darkened, burning with jealousy. "You don't belong here. You don't belong with him." Her voice dropped lower, colder. "Do you even know what kind of man you married? Do you understand what he is capable of?" You shook her head weakly, her throat closing with fear. The woman's lips curved again, this time cruelly. Of course you don't. You are just pretty, nothing else. That's why he brought you here, isn't it?" Nothing more. Her words breached you fragile heart. She already fell out of place, terrified, rolling in fear, and now standing before this bold, confident woman who clearly despised her. She felt even smaller. The secretary's eyes narrowed as she stepped so close that you could feel her breath. "Enjoy this room, little wife, enjoy this mansion, but don't ever forget Jungkook doesn't forgive weakness, and you." She let out a soft, mocking laugh. You look like nothing but weakness." Your chest tightened, her knees threatening to give way. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it might break her ribs. She wanted to run back to the bedroom, to hide, to disappear. But before she could move, heavy footsteps echoed through the hallway. The secretary, mocking smirk, froze instantly, and you turned, her body trembling because she already knew it was Jungkook. The sound of his footsteps filled the lounge like thunder. Jungkook stepped into the room, his black coat draped perfectly over his tall frame, his eyes sharp and unreadable. Every guard in the hallway lowered their gaze instantly. His presence way too heavy, too dangerous. You Brett catch. Her body went rigid, her fingers clutched the blanket tighter against her chest. Even without looking at him, she felt the weight of his aura, the cold power he carried with every step. The secretary, however, didn't flinch. In fact, her red lips curved into a bold smile the moment she saw him. Jungkook, she peered, walking towards him with a sway in her hips. Her eyes sparkled in practical charm, her tone dripping with confidence. "You didn't tell me you were bringing your wife." Her gaze flickered sharply towards you before sliding back to him. She looked like a scared little girl who doesn't even know how to breathe in this house. Your stomach twisted, her eyes dropped instantly to the marble floor, her lashes wet as she tried to disappear into silence. Every nerve in her body screamed to stay still, to not anger him, to not attract more attention. Her heart hummed painfully, her breath shallow. The secretary smirked at you, trembling silence, then boldly stepped closer to Jungkook, but then again she whispered, her hand daring to gaze his sleeves. "You always like your toys fragile, haven't you?" The lounge froze for a long moment. Jungkook didn't move. His jaw tightened, his dark eyes lowering to the hand that had dared touch him. The air turned sharp, suffocating. Even the guards at the edge of the hall exchanged nervous glances. Yu's heart pounded so hard it hurt. She didn't dare look up, but she could feel it. Something dangerous was about to break, and then it happened. Jungkook's hand shot out, gripping the secretary throat with ruthless force. She kept her smirk flattering as his eyes cold black merciless look into hers. "You think you can touch me?" His voice was low, sharp as a blade. "You think you can mock what's mine?" Her lips parted, but no words came. Jungkook tightened her throat just enough to make her cry out, her knees buckling slightly under the pain. The sound echoed in the massive lounge. "Don't ever compare her to your kind of woman." Jungkook hissed, leaning closer, his tone deadly. "She's not weak, she's not a toy, she's mine and you." His grip tightened until her breath his are nothing but a secretary. The boldness drained from her face, her eyes widened with fear, her painted lips trembling as she tried to keep her composure. You trembled hard in the corner, her breath coming in short, shaking gasps. She couldn't lift her gaze. She didn't want to see the merciless side of him again. She already knew what he was capable of. The secretary tried one last time, her voice breaking. "Jungkook, I was only..." "Shut up." He cut her off, realizing her wrist with a shock. She stumbled back, clutching her arm, her face pale with shock and humiliation. The silence that followed with heavy, suffocating. Jungkook turned his gaze slowly, deliberately to you. His eyes softened slightly, but the danger still lingered at his aura. Yu's knees felt weak. She lowered her head, fluttered, trembling under the intensity of his gaze. The secretary disappeared to remain ground, straightened her shoulder and tried again, though her voice lacked its earlier confidence. "Jungkook, she doesn't even look at you. She's trembling of you. How can this little girl be your wife?" The word hung in the air like poison. Jungkook's lips curved into a dark smile. He didn't look at the secretary. He kept his gaze fixed on you, watching how she shook, how she clutched the blanket tighter as though it could shield her. "There were you are wrong," he said softly, dangerously. "Her fear is mine, and that's make her closer to me than you could ever dream of being." The secretary's face pale flutter. You prayed, get her chest tightened until it hurt. She wanted to vanish, to sink into the floor, but Jungkook's words wrapped around her like a chain. His obsession didn't need her love, didn't ever even need her trust. It thrived on her fear, her trembling, her innocence. The secretary tried to step closer again, desperate. "Jungkook, you know me. I have been with you for years. I have done everything for you. I kill a lot of people just for you." Jungkook's eyes snapped to her, the fire in them slicing her intensity. "Get out," he ordered coldly. Her lips parted in disbelief. "What, get out?" His voice was sharp, final. "Before I forget that you were once useful." The threat was enough. Her boldness shattered. She turned quickly, her heels clicking against the marble as she filed the lounge, her pride crushed, her jealousy burning. The guard brought slightly as she stormed past, but none dared look up now. The lounge was silent again. Jungkook turned back to you, his gaze unreadable. She was still trembling, her eyes down, her body frozen like a prey catch in a predator's shadow. He stepped towards her, his presence swelling the space. You breathing quickly. She pressed herself back slightly, her lips trembling, but her voice refused to come out. Jungkook stopped just in front of her, rattling his head slightly, his eyes scanning her pale face, the fear in her lashes and the fan brushing on her lips where she had bitten it in panic. "Look at me," he murmured, her chest closed sharply. She couldn't. She was too scared. "Look at me," he repeated. "Fine this time," his tone leaving no room for this obeisance. Slowly, with trembling hesitation, "You lift the case." Her eyes red from tears, white with fear. "Must his Jungkook lips curve again, the same faint dark smile he had worn on the jet when she fell asleep again. "Good," he said softly, almost to himself. "Even in your fear, you can't resist me." "You bread," broke her eyes watering again. She wanted to scream that it was not true, that she was not his, that she wanted to go home, but the words died in her throat. The mansion was quiet that night. Moonlight spread across the glass wall, pointing silver shadow on the polished floors. The silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, almost suffocating, broken only by the faint sound of the clock ticking in the corner. Jungkook sat on the velvet chair arm, his black shirt unbuttoned at the collar, a glass of whiskey in his hand, but his mind was not on the drink. His eyes were fixed on one thing, only her. "You sat on the far side of the bedroom, curled into herself, the oversized silk nightgown swelling her frame. She kept her head down, avoiding his gaze, her fingers fighting nervously with the fabric. For the first time, Jungkook realized something that both thrilled and unsettled him. His obsession for her outweighed every temptation he had even known. The secretary boldness, the countless women who had thrown themselves at him, one of them mattered nothing compared to the way she trembled before him, the way her fear wrapped around him like chains. His lips curved into a faint dark smile. "You," he said, his voice low, magnetic. Her shadow stiffened at the sound of her name. Slowly she looked up at her white tear-brimmed eyes catch the glint of the moonlight. Her lips parted as if to answer, but no words come out. Jungkook rose from the chair, his steps slow, deliberate, and predatory. He set the glass down on the table, the clench enjoyed in the stiff room. She instantly pressed herself back against the bed frame, panic flashing in her eyes. "Don't," she whispered, her voice breaking, but he didn't stop. When he reached her, he crouched low, his dark eyes drinking her in. His hand lifted slowly, brushing a strange of hair away from her face. She flinched violently, her breath catching, her body curling tighter. His chest tightened. She didn't even know how much power he had over him. The more she recoiled, the more he wanted to hold her still. The more she feared him, the deeper his obsession dug into his veins. "You have no idea what you do to me," he murmured, his finger brushing against her jaw, her lips trembling, her head shaking quickly. "Stop, please." But Jungkook leaned closer, his lips brushed again her ear as he whispered, "No one in this world will ever have me the way you do. You are mine. You mine to love, mine to break." A tear slipped down her cheeks, her body shivering with disgust. She pushed at his chest weakly, her small hands trembling. "Let me go." The rejection burned him, but instead of anger, a dangerous thrill spread through him. He pulled back slightly, his eyes searching her terrified face. She looked at him as if he was a monster. Her monster. She slumped to her feet suddenly, her bare feet hitting the cold floor. She tried to run, but her nightgown flowing behind her like fragile wings, but Jungkook didn't chase her. Instead, he leaned back against the bed frame, his lips curved into a faint smirk, and he watched her dart into the darkness, a hallway like a frightened deer. His heart pounded not with rage but with something darker, something. Her innocence, her disgust, her desperate attempt to escape, he found it intoxicating. He tilted his head back, closing his eyes briefly as if savoring the memory of her trembling lips, her broken whisper, the way her hair smelled sweeter than any perfume. When he finally opened his eyes, a dangerous determination flicked in them. She runs because she's scared, he whispered to himself, but one day she wouldn't be able to. The thought made his blood run hot. He rose from the bed, slowly walking towards the balcony. Indoors, the cold night breeze swept through, lifting his dark hair. He looked out at the sprawling city of Italy beneath him, glittering with lights like scattered diamonds. The world was his, but tonight even the empire he owned felt meaningless compared to the trembling girl who had just fled his arms. His obsession was no longer just control, it was not just possession, it had crossed into something deeper, something far from dangerous. Because now Jungkook realized he didn't just want her to stay, he wanted to make her want to stay, no matter how many times she ran, no matter how many times she looked at him with disgust. Every tear, every flinch, every desperate attempt to resist only made her more irresistible to him, and he was not going to stop until she belonged to him completely.